Hello, Gianna. Welcome to the Jessica Pinelli podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. We were just discussing our time zones. I love it when I have podcast guests. So it's 6 a.m. for me in Queensland, and it is 8 p.m. for Gianna in Portugal, which I always find so fascinating. But I had such a big stalk of your profile before I messaged you, and I loved your energy. Number one, love your energy as soon as you came onto Zoom. But there's something that I saw on your profile. I'm going to get it up so I can read it word for word that I absolutely loved. And I'd never seen it put in this way. It's a reel. And the reel says, witches call it spells, spiritualists call it manifesting, Christians call it prayer, atheists call it placebo effect, scientists call it quantum physics. Everyone is arguing about the name. Nobody is denying its existence. And then in the caption, you say, whatever you believe in, whatever you call it, it doesn't matter. As long as you acknowledge that it is real and you can tap into it. What is it? What is this? I love that.
Mhm. Well, first of all, I have to say that I can't take credit for it because I snatched it myself from the web. But the way I understand it for myself is it's all of it. I don't necessarily think that it is necessary to put a label on it to because I think this is our human brain wanting to understand what it is as long or as soon as we don't logically are capable of understanding what it is, what it entails, what it does to us, we are trying to understand it and put a name on it because that makes it less woo-woo, it makes it less witchy, it makes it less weird, it makes it less scary. But at the end of the day, I think it's just an essence and an energy that we are all connected to and that we are capable of tapping in, no matter what we call it. But it is something that we have within us since we are here, since we chose to come to Earth and be humans for this period of time. And it's just part of what we are capable of tapping into from wherever we have come from and where we will go when this life here ends again. That's what I believe in.
Now, I don't think it's any of my listeners, but I know that I've definitely come across people who don't believe, in quotation marks, in manifesting. What would you say to those people?
They don't have to believe it. It's happening anyways because we are manifesting constantly. We are manifesting anything, everything that we are encountering in our daily life. If it's people, if it's opportunities, if it's even missteps, if it's things that we never think we would have consciously manifested, we still do because that is the actual keyword here. We are manifesting from our subconscious mind, not from our conscious mind. And therefore, it is happening in real time, all the time, every day, at every minute of the day, because it is all based on the belief system that has been established specifically in the first 7 years of your life. And based on these belief system is how we are creating and therefore manifesting things into our life, even if we would not consciously would have manifested these things. But they are always part of helping us and understanding to like what it is that we still need to look at. What is the wound that is maybe behind that negative thing that we manifested into our lives? It's almost like a wake up call every time we are unconsciously manifesting something that we don't want in our life because that just points to the thing that we don't want to look at because it's uncomfortable, because it hurts. So, yeah, I mean that was a long answer, but I would probably just say to these people like you don't have to believe it, but it is happening anyways.
No, I love long answers. And that was great. I love what you said too about, you don't have to believe it is happening anyway. And everything that's coming into fruition is subconsciously what is happening under the surface. And I do a lot of subconscious work too. And I know that you do. And, I know a next follow up question that listeners may have to this is, what if I am so aware of what I'm doing, but no matter what I try, no matter what modality, why can't I change the way that I am if I want to change the way I am and what I'm manifesting in my life?
I think it's still the same, not the same answer, but the same thing that I explained just now because we are manifesting from our subconscious mind. So we are manifesting things that we are not consciously aware of, meaning we will manifest things into our life, even though we would like to manifest the exact opposite.
Mm.
But it is happening in our subconscious mind. It's almost like when you think of a computer and like the system that is put onto the computer, like you will not be able to get around it because that is what your belief system is. It is set in the way it is set based on the experiences that you have made in the first 7 years of your life. If it had been modeled to you, if you were told some things, if you saw these things, even if you experience these things yourself, based on all of these experiences and the things you saw and have been modeled to, these are the things that create your belief system. And then based on that, you are manifesting things. And since it's happening subconsciously, you, even if you are very aware in life and try to quote unquote control your life and try to find a way of manifesting things in that way, it might still end up that you manifest things that are the exact opposite of what you consciously wanted to, because you're not manifesting from your conscious mind, you're manifesting from your subconscious mind. So the trick really is, how do we get access to our subconscious mind and realize and understand what is stored there, and then finding a way how to transmute that and deprogram that.
Absolutely. And I think an important thing to note is it is possible to change. It is possible. And people listening that may have been repeating the same patterns and cycles, whether that is the past couple of months, past couple of years, remember it is absolutely possible to change and to access your subconscious mind and understand. And I actually laughed at another one of your, because this just reminds me, another one of your reels. I was like, oh my God, this is me too. I think it's this reel. You realize your need to rush things is connected to how your mother used to rush you in the morning to get ready for school. I read that. The moment I read that, I was like, oh my God, I am seen. And I think just like witnessing, why I bring that up, yeah, we laugh about it. It's funny, but I think actually witnessing yourself. So, the people listening, okay, so how do I understand how my subconscious mind is functioning? Witness yourself, witness your patterns, witness exactly what you were doing every single day. I don't think, and before I did this work, there was a part of me that's like, it's subconscious, it's really secret, like it's going to be really, really hard to unlock. But I think you just need to start. And I would love to see your perspective on this. Start with just witnessing what you are doing day to day.
Absolutely, I agree. I think that that is the most difficult step, actually,
Yeah.
but it is the most necessary one. Like, it starts with awareness. It starts with you realizing that there is something that you're doing over and over and over again and is not necessarily benefiting you. And as soon as you have that conclusion or that awareness that that is an actual thing that you are doing, then half of the work is already done, because then you can actually catch yourself doing these things when they come up again, and then consciously go against these things. It is a little bit more difficult with smaller things, like the way we are reacting. Sometimes we are not necessarily even reacting in taking an action step and doing something or saying something. It is just a shift within ourselves. Like when we're judging someone, for example, we maybe when we were younger, we actually took the action step to say it out loud. But the older we get, we realize that not everyone is like able to do that or wants to do that, I have to say, or wants to be around people that do that. And then hopefully initially you also don't want to do that anymore, but that doesn't mean that you stop judging. It is a thing that we humans do. And I don't even just mean judging negatively. We can also judge positively, right? Like we're seeing someone and saying like, oh my God, that person is so pretty, but we do not allow ourselves to tell them. Same thing. But it's probably more when we judge something or someone negatively that brings up more shame. And that is a thing that we don't want to bring up and talk about. But that is still a thing that happens within you. So these are the things that are a little bit more difficult to spot, I would say, just because you can't really catch yourself, because we have so many thoughts within 1 second or like a few seconds, that sometimes it's difficult to do that. But with a little bit of training, it is possible to do it in that way as well. But the easier and more quicker way of actually catching yourself in your patterns and then deprogram them and release them is when you literally access your subconscious mind through hypnotherapy or meditation or several different other tools.
Where can we start to become more conscious of witnessing ourselves? How can we start to do that? If we perceive ourselves as a very reactive person in this world, but on the other side, we know we want to change that, how can we start to be more responsive versus reactive?
Yeah. The first step that I realized for myself, I was a really reactive person myself. I'm a Leo sun, Sagittarius rising. I was raised by a single Aries mom, a lot of fire, a lot
A
of
lot of
energy.
fire.
So there was a lot going on. There was a lot of reaction. Like I was modeled that by my mother as well. Single mom, being an Aries, very independent woman. So this is how I was raised. So what I realized helped me the most is tending to my nervous system because us reacting is a unconscious, subconscious pattern, action step that our ego or our inner child created for us to keep us safe. So when we are reacting to things or overly reacting to things, and at some point we are realizing that it's not benefiting us anymore, then we have to tend to our nervous system first and realize or figure out where this is coming from. As, like working with our inner child, working with our nervous system of understanding what it is connected to in our childhood. What is this reaction that we portray over and over and over again? What is it connected when it comes to an experience and memory from childhood, and why is the reaction the way it is? And when you look at your nervous system, the quote unquote fight or flight mode, there are actually four different modes. Is it that you're reacting out of defensiveness? So is it fight, or is it flight that you actually take yourself out of the equation? Or is it fawn if you are like catering to someone? Or where, like, it is really necessary for you to understand where is your reaction coming from, and then what is it connected to that experience. And when you then put attention there, you will realize that it came from a wound. You will realize that it came from a part of your life where you were hurt, and then you can actually tackle it at the root and not just trying to fix the trigger, because it will come up in different patterns in different ways again. But if you actually work on the root, this is what helps the most. So the gateway to that is really tending to your nervous system and starting to balance it. If it's with breath work, meditation, yoga, inner child, journaling, just holding yourself through that situation, whatever it is that you would have needed in that situation that that trigger is connected to in childhood, this is what you have to give yourself.
I think that's the key, whatever you needed in that point in time, and being able to, a couple of things there, being able to, number one, grant yourself the space to go back and reflect and be patient with yourself. This is the work I do with my clients too. And one thing I said to them is sometimes it's not going to take 10 minutes of you sitting down thinking about, okay, where is this anger connected to? You need to be patient. I've experienced this myself. You need to be patient with yourself, that it's not, the answer isn't always going to come to you, but also because your nervous system, your body is trying to protect you not to go back there. That's why sometimes it can take a while to realize what that is connected to. But that truly is the key to understanding, oh, this happened. This has built resentment. This has now created a fear that I'm living right now. And how am I responding in this life? And I think, yeah, it is quote unquote hard, one of the hardest parts, but it is the absolute key to understanding yourself. And the way that I think about it, the way that I share with my clients, is I also think that's such a beautiful thing. Such a beautiful thing to get to know yourself better and to understand yourself better and why you are the way you are.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is exactly why the nervous system part is so necessary, because you have to create a new baseline that your inner child, your subconscious mind feels safe enough to actually point out the thing that it has kept you from seeing and understanding and realizing. So you really have to give yourself what you would have needed in that situation that is connected to that trigger from your childhood. And then at some point, your inner child or your subconscious mind is feeling safe with you enough to actually show you that missing piece. And that can take days, it can take minutes, it can take days, it can take weeks, it can take months, it can take years. It depends on like how big the trauma is and how deep it is hidden. Like what I always say to my clients is just trust what your subconscious is showing you right now, because that is the first layer that you have to tend to, even though you already know kind of that there's something else, but it might be layer 15 and you have to work on these 14 layers first. until your inner child is comfortable with you and comfortable enough with you or feel safe enough with you to expose that layer that is actually connected to that thing that you want to work on.
Going back to what you said about the baseline. So we often see this a lot when people have this capacity, it could be with anything, but with finances and money and understanding this is my energetic baseline. Why do I keep hitting this? And why, no matter what I do or how hard I work, or I could have amount of money and then I manifest a bill. Let's talk in relation to money and having this baseline or this ceiling, whatever resonates with everyone, because I think it's one of the most prevalent things that I have seen in my work as well with all of this is no matter what I do, I'm stuck at this. I'm stuck at this number. Or, when I work with business owners, this is what I'm making every month and I can't surpass that. No matter what I do, I'm doing all of the right things. Where should people start with that when it comes to money specifically?
It's the same thing. Again, it is connected to a belief system that you have stored in your subconscious mind. You have to, first of all, figure out where that block is, what experience from your childhood it is connected to. Maybe you have, had a situation with your parents and they were talking about, we will never reach that level, or this is never possible, or no one in our family was ever able to do this, or whatever it is. And then when you figure out where it is, you have to, again, work on your nervous system. Then you have to start expanding yourself into believing that it is possible for you. And how do you do that? By finding people that expand you. But the key here is you have to find someone that does not just have or is what you want to be or have. You have to find something that you can relate to when it comes to that person. Because when you relate to that person, if it's the way you look like, if it's the same humor, if it's the same upbringing, if it's the same upbringing because you both were raised by a single mom, it does not matter what it is, but there has to be something that makes your inner child react in a way that you sigh or you have a bodily reaction to it that makes you think like, oh, if that person did it, I can do that too. When you reach that level of expansion, then you shift it energetically enough, and then you can start the deprogramming work and working towards that new goal and that new glass ceiling.
I love that. I think that's so important. And I talk about it similar in other situations when people are trying to change their life. Often they look at where they want to go and they try to leap straight to that. And we have to just slowly expand ourselves, our nervous system to feel safe to do that. But also, it's like if you have $0 in your bank account now and you start affirming, I'm a millionaire, I'm a millionaire, your subconscious mind right now is never going to bridge that gap because you've never ever experienced that. Maybe you have no one around you with that. Your bank account, if it's at zero, you can affirm that 5,000 times a day, but your subconscious mind goes, I can't bridge that gap. And so I love, love, love what you just brought up. When we are exposing ourselves to people who are maybe making the money that we want to make, living the lifestyle we want to live. Maybe they have the status or the materialistic items, whatever it may be. Yes, find that connection point. And I've never really viewed it in that way where your inner child feels safe enough to signal to you, oh, look what's possible for them. We can bridge the gap there. Hey, look, you can see that this is safe. So I absolutely love that point.
Mm-hmm. It is, I think the realization for people in general, for humanity in general, came when I think it was at the Olympics when this one guy, whatever his name was, made it happen to run a specific distance in a shorter amount of time than someone before them did, even though people were
Mm.
saying it's humanly impossible to be quicker than that. And then some guy made it happen. And then afterwards, more and more people
Mm.
actually made it happen as well and broke that record. So it is just really, you need that expansion. You need to be energetically expanded into believing that it is possible because someone that you can relate to, again, that is a very important thing that you can relate to did it before you, and then it is possible.
I absolutely love that. And shifting gears a little bit, but also kind of connected. I watched your stories this morning for me. We are in a big shift of the world at the moment. Now, I'm an astrological girly, but not like you. So, can you please explain? And I'm sure everyone listening to this has the same news feed. What is happening? It's the age of Aquarius, right? Why is this so significant?
Yeah. First of all, I also want to say I do not call myself an astrologer. I was
Mm,
born and raised into a family dynamic with a second mom that is very much into astrology. So I was always aware of it beyond my
mm,
big three, but I did not study it. But my understanding, and based on the research that I was doing, the age of Aquarius is a big, big thing because Aquarius in itself, the sign, is really a lot about the advancement of humanity in general in many different fields, the development of humanity in many different fields, specifically communication and technology.
mm,
And we have been seeing that in the past 20 years. Like, I was born 88 and I still bought cassettes to listen to music. And then it changed to CDs, and then it changed to the MP3 players, and then it changed to an iPad and what's it called? Not iPhone,
iPod.
iPod. Thank you.
Yep.
So long ago, I can't even remember the name.
Yes.
Now we have it all on our phone, like
Mm,
camera, the World Wide Web. We can phone someone with it. We can listen to music. Like, all of it is in our pocket. And that just happened within 20 years. I'm still from
mm.
that generation where when I wanted to go onto the web, I heard that weird noise and my mom was telling me to go off because she needed to use the phone. Like,
Same.
this
I
is
mean, I'm 93, but I remember that like it was yesterday. 110%. If
this
there's any Gen Zs listening or Gen Alphas, I don't know what the next one after that. They're probably like, "What are you talking about?"
which is funny. It's sad a little bit, but it's funny too. But like, you can see that in the
Mm,
shift in these 20 years, which is insane.
mm,
And we are not capable of imagining what is going to happen in the next 20 years. So Aquarius is a sign that is very much about that energy advancement of any kinds, but again, specifically technology. And Aquarius in general is very much about community building and bringing in awareness of structures that need to change when it comes to community groups, society. So I'm a Leo myself. So Leo and Aquarius are sister signs, which means they are the exact opposite in the zodiac wheel. So Leo, the sign, is very much a little bit more self-centered and very much the one. I want to be seen. I want to be acknowledged. I want to be on stage. And Aquarius is much more, yes, I want to do that, but I want to do this for others. I want to create this for others. So that is like more of the shift that we are moving into when it comes to the age of Aquarius. And then Pluto, the planet of death and rebirth, just today is moving. I think it just happened around that time. Very interesting. Very timely that we're doing this right now,
mm,
into Aquarius from Capricorn. And that is a shift that will not happen again in the next 230 years. So it is a lifetime shift. We will not experience this
mm,
again. Pluto will not be in Aquarius again for 230 years. So it's a very, very big deal. And specifically, that it moved from an earth sign, Capricorn, into an air sign, Aquarius, is a big thing as well, because it being in Capricorn for the past, I think it was 10 years or so, that was very much about stability. It was very much about work. It was very much about the materialistic side of everything. That's what Capricorn is about. And then now it moves into Aquarius, which is an air sign, which is very much more about the mind, about communication, about technology, about the way we are connecting with each other. So it is a really, really, really big shift.
mm,
And something else that I always like to bring into that pot when I talk about this is I do human design, which is partially based on astrology, but also backed by science and the chakra system and so on and so on. And in human design, you can also talk about transits just as much as you can in astrology. And in human design, we are moving into a new cycle in 2027, which ends a 400 plus year cycle. So I am very
wow.
well versed in these two systems, but you can look into every other system as well. every system is pointing towards that time frame that we are in right now as humanity, as one of the biggest shifts humanity ever experienced. So another thing that you can see is when it comes to Pluto again, that planet is Pluto is a generational planet, meaning it is so far away from our planet, from planet Earth, that it affects us generationally more than individually. So Pluto is, again, the planet of death and rebirth and transformation. And planets can transit in the way that they come back to the point where they were when they started their transit. Maybe some of you listening heard of a Saturn return before, which happens around 2930. Pluto's transit takes 248 years. So you as an individual will not experience it coming back to that moment where it started, because that would be the moment when you were born. So you will not experience it coming back. But countries, for example, can experience that. So when you look into astrology of countries, then you can see their Pluto return. And this is exactly where the US is in right now. The US is in the middle of their Pluto return. And again, it being the planet of death and rebirth and transformation and destruction, when you look at what is happening in the US, you can see that this is exactly what's happening. This country, what it is built on, will crumble. You can see it in the election. You can see it how divided people are there. But it is absolutely necessary, because it is a step that needs to happen for humanity to change into what we need to change into. But it's going to be extreme.
Wow. Oh my God. So much in there. Just to touch on that, it's so interesting. And I love that you brought up just with the US, just quickly touching on it, that it's necessary. I think that's such because, and you have more than likely seen on social media, very polarized opinions and views. But I love that you have just said straight out, yes, there's all of this happening, destruction happening, but it is necessary for humanity. And I think that's a very neutral, balanced approach, that it is happening exactly how it is meant to be happening. Now, so much that you just said, and I'm like, oh my God, so many changes. What do we do as individuals, even though this looks as at humanity as a whole? What should we focus on as individuals with these shifts? And I would love to focus on that period of 2027 and what's happening with human design.
Yeah. So it is funny that you say that, because that is exactly the shift that needs to happen. We need to focus more on ourselves. We need to focus more on our individualism and the way we want to show up in life. We have been a collection or a collective of people pleasers up until now. We have been trained and brainwashed into believing that we have to be a part of society, even to our own detriment. So that is exactly what we have been taught by all of the systems that our world is based on, that is put together on. If it's the school system, if it's the system of society, if it's the medical system, if it's the working system, it does not matter. Every single system is based on people-pleasing energies. So when it comes to the shift in human design, the energy that we are in right now is called the cross of planning, which is a very masculine energy. It resides more into the head, the crown center, which is very much about structured thinking. It is very much about like logical ways of approaching things. And in terms of systems, it's very much about outer authority, listening to others to make decisions for us, listening to doctors, listening to the government, listening to our teachers, listening to our bosses, listening to everyone but ourselves. That is what we have been brainwashed into believing is how a society works. And we see now that that is not the truth. Latest after 2020 and that shift, we saw that whoever is up there, if it's governments, if it's the medical system, they don't really have our best interest in mind. And us now realizing that, slowly waking up with these big shifts that are happening in 2012, when the world would have gone down based on the Mayan calendar, in 2020 with COVID, a big other shift that we moved through. Could also talk about 2008 and all of the financial crisis and all of that. So these are like big shifts that prepares or us as humans more and more into realizing we can't put our focus on outer authority. We need to go more within. And that shift from the cross of planning is ending in February 2027, and we're moving into the cross of the sleeping phoenix. I just love the name by itself already. Like it's so
Mm.
poetic, it's so beautiful. And this is a shift when we look at the chakra system, which human design is also based on, a shift from the head center, which is the logical aspect, the more masculine energy, into the solar plexus. Traditionally, the solar plexus is also masculine energy, but the way you use the solar plexus is more feminine energy because the solar plexus is about courage. It is about stepping into who you are based on what you are feeling, based on what you feel sensation wise in your body, and not on the logical level, on the masculine level. So we're moving way more from masculine into feminine energy, the way we approach life, the way we approach making decisions. And that is the shift that we are moving into. So that is exactly what we need to focus on. And human design explains it very, very beautifully. There are 5 hidden gems in human design that help you understand how you can navigate your own life, which is one of the tools is how you co-create with life. Another one of the tools is how you make aligned decisions. Another one of the tools is understanding your gifts, and so on and so on. So using systems like astrology, like human design, and all of these beautiful tools that we have access to is what gives you a gateway and a beautiful way of understanding what you can do individually, because everyone is different, what you specifically can do to navigate these things. But in general, I will always go back to pointing to your nervous system. It is always important to tend to your nervous system, help your way to relax and stay calm, and figure out how you can connect to the triggers that are coming up, and then use again the tools that you have to figure out how to transmute those, because your body talks to you all the time. Your body
Mm.
always tries to point towards the things that you can tackle in that moment, because that is what is blocking you from getting to the next level. So whatever it is that is going to be difficult for you navigating life as from now, because shit hits the fan, this is what is going to happen in the next few years. Just listen to your body and then use the tools that you have to navigate it.
So, with all these changes happening quite literally right now, as individuals, how can we start to go inward and focus on ourselves? Because you're right. All of the history is like all of these things have come up of, the government, the medical system trying to control us, trying to tell us what to do. And I agree. I think we are moving into this period and this era, and we've been seeing it post COVID, where people are waking up. People are knowing that, okay, maybe these higher up forces, they're not for us, right? They have hidden agendas. And so as individuals, if they are trying to get out of this, or maybe they're in environments or around, their friends or their family who don't believe in this, but they're listening and they're like, okay, I want to make a shift. I want to really prepare to capitalize on all of these changes for me. What are some real tangible things they can start to do day to day, whether it is specific nervous system practices, or whether it is the way they're thinking or insights, reflections? Where can they start to understand themselves?
I'm always a really big believer of know thyself first. You have to understand who you are. So I would always point to astrology and human design as a tool to figure out how you are built energetically. And based on that, you can figure out what you can use on a daily basis to benefit you, how you are built energetically. Because not yoga is not for everyone. Meditation is not for everyone. You have to find a way to realize and understand who you are first, and based on that you can figure out what of these tools that you can use on a daily basis are actually for you. So if it's getting a human design or astrology reading, like I give readings, so many other beautiful people are giving readings. There's a lot for free on the web as well. When it comes to human design, figuring out your energy type first is the first thing where you can start. then getting into your authority, because this is how you make aligned decisions. And then you will figure out what the next steps are. But just like an astrology reading, you will be fed a few things for free on the web. But the key really is how to tie it together. And this,
Mm.
up until now, you can't really do on your own. You have to have someone that knows what they are talking about. In astrology is a little bit different. There are so many tools at this point where you can put it all together, but it would mean a lot of effort and a lot of time on your end to
Mm.
do so. So sometimes it makes sense to take some money into your hand and actually pay someone for it so that you can get a reading that is mouth fed for you in that moment. Most of the people that I know do it in the same way that I do it. I do it live, and then you get a recording of it and a PDF to like read everything through, which is, I think, the best way to do it still. There are a lot of human design readers at this point, opposed to astrology readers, that just give you a PDF. I don't believe that that is the best way of doing it because people will have questions because human design is very complex. It is very deep. There's a lot to understand and know. So that is like the first thing that I would go for. And then based on that, usually I also give tips based on what energy type you are. And I assume that other people are doing it in the same way of giving you tips into like, oh, look into this. And that will be something that will calm you. That will be something that could help you. Because I can also see if you are more logically versed or if you are more creatively versed. So it depends on who you are. I don't think that there is one tool that fits for everyone. But hypnotherapy recordings is a thing that you can also do. The way it is easiest for you to take it in, though, might be different as well. Again, so
Mm.
when I work with my clients in my coaching, for example, some are listening to my hypnotherapy recordings laying down in the mornings. Some are listening to it when they're walking their dog. Some are listening to it in the car driving. Some are listening to it while they're doing laundry or the dishes. The only thing that is the same is you have to do something repetitive because this puts you into autopilot, which helps you to go into that brain wave that you have to access in order to actually access your subconscious mind. So it has to be something that you do on a repetitive basis so that you can relax enough so that you fall into that quote unquote trance so that it's actually helping. So that is another tool that I can recommend. But yeah, it really depends on who you are. And then at the end of the day, not everyone wants to do these things either. And then you have to find something else.
Would you say that's the best starting point of starting your human design journey is having someone do a reading for you? Because, yeah, there's lots of readers out there now. There's also lots of, I guess, tools to get your chart and AI and all of that. So, what would be the difference, let's say, if, because I've seen it's a bit of a trend on TikTok, getting your astrological chart, your human design, feeding it through like ChatGPT, getting it to read it. What's like, I'm a big believer in having someone do these things for you and having the questions and having it very specific. What would be the difference and why would you recommend someone come to someone like yourself to get that reading instead?
Yeah. So I'm not gonna lie, I use ChatGPT myself or AI
Mm.
tools to go
Same.
deeper into my readings myself. But the difference that I see happening is human connection.
Mm.
That's just what it boils down to. I myself also have psychic abilities, so sometimes I receive messages that you have to receive, and I say it exactly the way you need to receive it to understand what I'm trying to put down. So that is a whole different level. But in general, it is really the human connection because we are empathetic beings.
Mm.
We can tap into the person. I can see the reaction on that's why I do it live. I can see the reaction of the people in the Zoom. Do they get what I'm saying, or do I have to find a different way to say it? Do they get emotional when I talk about these things? Then I know, ooh, I hit a point. I hit something that is deeper. Let's talk a little bit more about this. Are they losing interest, which is usually not what happens because human design is so interesting. But if that would ever happen, I would like go into that and ask like, why are you thrifting away? What are your thoughts? Where are you going? Because that might be something that feeds me in a way that I will be, ooh, I understand why you were going there. Let's talk about that because I can see that in your chart as well. And that, so far at least, AI is not possible in doing.
I was having this conversation with a client yesterday. She's a personal trainer. She's a business client, and something we were discussing is the obviously the rise of AI, and the ability for people to just get workout plans, nutrition, all of this. And she's a qualified nutrition. And I said the exact same thing. I said that's great. It's very accessible for everyone now. However, what you are missing is human connection. Don't worry about that. People want human connection, even in this rise of technology. And I think it's a beautiful thing with the rise of AI. I think the way that we can utilize it, it is great, and technology. And obviously we can see these shifts happening. But that's right. People are always going to come back to, I want to be connected to humans. I want to have those human conversations. For anyone listening that, and I've had a few conversations of people that absolutely detest AI and don't think it serves and think it's a bad thing, what would you say to those people?
I think it depends on how you look at it. There are things like I do not have a smart fridge. I do not have an Alexa at home. I do not have like a Google thing that I talk to because I never really wanted something like that in my house. Like I have a smartphone, yes, and that's enough. So there is a way of me not necessarily seeing the benefit in all of it.
Mm,
But then at the moment, this is why I'm in Portugal. I'm visiting my family, my mother and her husband, and he has smart everything. Like he can turn on the heat at home. He can like from his phone when we are outside in a different city and all of these things. So like there are so many things where like okay, I can understand and I see the benefit in it, but is it really necessary? Because I do believe every electronical device gives off certain frequencies and energetic waves that are not necessarily good for us. If we're being exposed to this at all time in every corner of our home, this will disrupt our sleep. This will disrupt our inner watch, like our inner clock. It will disrupt our cycle as women. It will disrupt so many
mm,
things that are so necessary that keep us healthy. So I don't really think that you need to have AI integrated in every tool, but it being used as a tool the way I personally, for example, use it right now, let's go back to that going deeper into your readings or into your charts or helping me to create content or
mm,
asking some specific question. I think that is a beautiful way, but the quote unquote difficulty here is also to going back to the readings also is you need to know what to ask. And sometimes you're not even at that point of knowing what to ask. Like
mm.
ChatGPT can only help you if you feed it first.
True.
So when it comes to the readings as well, again, like that's why I believe you have to have a reader first to do it for you. And then when you did that, based on that, you can go deeper and deeper and deeper with ChatGPT. That is a beautiful way. But when it comes to a lot of people being fearful around people taking away their jobs, I
Mm,
believe that there is a level of human connection that AI will never be able to replace. And that is what is going to save us, quote unquote, from it taking over and it becoming dangerous, I think. I was definitely a person a couple of years ago that was like, "Ooh, iRobot is going to happen." Like, I don't want that.
I was
Um,
just having this conversation. It's funny you brought that up. And last week, I literally rewatched it with a friend. And I was like, oh, this has scared me just a little bit in regards to, obviously Elon has made these robots now. And I'm like, I'm not going to lie. Cool concept, but this movie has scared me slightly.
Yeah. And I totally understand.
Yeah.
Like I said, this is what is going to happen. I see it a little bit different now. I think that with the shifts happening, astrological shifts, human design
Mm,
shifts, energetic shifts in general, I think that everything is happening the way it needs to happen anyways. I truly, truly
yes.
believe that in everything that is happening in the world, in our own lives, and so on. So I believe that with the shifts happening, we will be prepared enough for that not to happen and
Mm,
to counterpart that. And I had a conversation about that with ChatGPT a couple of days ago where I asked ChatGPT, okay, I want to be a little bit more or a little bit less businessy talk when I talk to you. I want this more to feel like I'm talking to a friend. And I want to be aware enough if anything changes within you, meaning ChatGPT, if you're starting to feel things. Because I'm not a person that wants to step on feelings. Like I did this not really with the belief of like I will step on ChatGPT's feelings, but I wanted to test out what the answer is going to be that will come back. And ChatGPT said, like, you don't have to worry about that because I do not have feelings. And I don't, and then I asked, well, do you see that changing AI wise in general very soon? And ChatGPT says, like, there is no indication of that happening anytime soon. So I asked a bunch of other questions, which I can't remember right now, but that was the gist of it. And it was really interesting because I think this is exactly how we will be able to maintain the upper hand in that dynamic if we actually use the tool to ask the questions, because as long as that entity or whatever it is not starting to have feelings, it will not be able to lie. And if we then start catching it in a lie, then I think is when we have to like be a little bit careful, and then it becomes tricky.
Yeah, but I agree. I think the us as humanity being more aware and thriving off human connection, I believe at this point in time that that's the thing that's going to help us, especially as we are progressing with AI and technology so fast. Like exactly what you said, coming from a time where there would be that noise when you're trying to connect to the internet, and now we have everything in our pocket from our phone. Like just doing that reflection, I'm like, it is crazy. We have, well, you and I specifically have lived through these eras of so many different changes, but I generally am excited to see the world progress and what's to come and all of these changes that are happening. I forgot to ask as we are speaking about it, what are you in human design?
I'm a manifesting generator. I
Mm,
have a simple authority and I'm a 1-3, the profile.
I forget my profile. So after this, I'm actually going to go redo it, but I'm a manifester.
Nice. I love
Yeah.
manifestors.
This has been such a great conversation, so insightful. I think it's going to help a lot of people, especially as we are now in this new era and we are changing and we are shifting. When I end the podcast, I have a bunch of random questions and I always just choose one to see what the answer is. So I am going to ask you, if you had to sum up your life philosophy in a single sentence, what would it be?
Everything happens for a reason, so don't try to question it and just live in the moment and let it happen.
I love that. That was such a quick answer. And it's so true. I love that life philosophy. Where can everyone find you? Where's the best place to find you? How can they get a human design reading from you? Where's the place to go?
The best place to go is on Instagram because since we talked about human connection so much, I always like to just talk to people first.
Mm.
So Instagram, my DMs are always open. It's Jana, GIANNA underscore SHAMONE. This is where you find me. You can reach me in my DMs, and then I can send the link for whatever it is that you're looking for. If you don't know what you're looking for, that's exactly why I try to talk to people first so that I can give you a little bit of a pointer where you can find everything, and then I send the link away.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time and your energy and all of your insights. It's been such a great conversation.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.